Anna, hello. Welcome to the Female Startup Club podcast. Take two.
I'm so happy to be here again.
I'm happy for you to be here. You're all set up. For everyone listening, Anna has just moved to Estonia and we tried to connect last week. We had a couple of tech issues, but now we're on the home stretch.
Yeah, awesome. I'm so excited. I've been excited since the last time we tried to connect, so I'm even more excited for this version.
Love that for me and for you and for the listeners. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what your business is for those who might not yet know?
Yeah, cool. My name is Anna Ross. I'm originally from New Zealand, but spent 11 and a half years living in Melbourne. So when I started my business, Kester Black, it's a sort of an Australian business, but then we sort of took it back to New Zealand and now we're in Europe setting it up here. So Kester Black is an ethical, sustainable cosmetics brand that specializes in color cosmetics. So we make nail polish, lipstick, and eyeliner at the moment, but we will be launching it into a full beauty brand. And the key differences with Kester Black and most other brands on the market is that it's cruelty-free, vegan, B-corp. We were the first company in the world, first cosmetics company in the world to get B-corp certified. And everything that we do is based around this, like, how can I do it better? How is it better for the environment? How can we set ourselves apart? So it's awesome that these days, because Kester Black is almost 10 years old, that's standard. And if it's a new brand, you should be doing that anyway. So I think that's the most exciting sort of thing that I've seen in the last 10 years of running my little business.
Yeah, I love that. It's pretty wild to me that you're the first cosmetics company to get a B Corp certification. Like I would have just thought that was kind of like, yeah, the norm, I guess, you know?
It wasn't 10 years ago. And so when I started, it was 2012 that I started Kester. Actually, it was 2009. So it's quite a long time ago. But 2012 was 2012. So firstly, it started as because I studied fashion in New Zealand and I really love working with my hands. So it started as a fashion label, then it became a jewelry label. And as I grew and became more hungry and learning more skills, it then turned into this cosmetics business. So that was actually, we launched the first 6 colors in August 2012. So back then, there was only one nail polish brand on the market in Australia that had both cruelty-free and vegan certification, and that was it. One.
Wow, that's crazy. You know what I love is that instead of like closing the business and starting the new one with a new direction, you just pivoted it like a couple of times. You iterated from fashion to jewelry to now to nail polish to full cosmetics. It's so interesting to me that, you know, that idea of like just iterating and quickly going around to find what you're happy with versus like stopping and starting again from scratch and like just building on what you'd already built.
It wasn't what I would call a business back then, which is the beauty of it. So I finished my degree and I asked my mum for $30,000 to start a fashion label. And she said, "No, Anna, you are going overseas to get some experience." So I moved to Melbourne.
Heartbroken. Yeah. You're going over heartbroken.
Yeah. So I moved to Melbourne and I ended up getting a job in retail. And it was hard to come from New Zealand to get a job in the fashion industry in Australia because the Australian market didn't understand how excellent the New Zealand degree was. And in Australia, you either studied design or construction and manufacturing, whereas in New Zealand, we got both of those sets of skills in the one degree. So actually, I was highly skilled as a graduate because I'd also been running like my little fashion label and making clothes for 3 years the entire time while I was at school as well. It was just a creative outlet when I first got there, alongside my full-time job. So I just used to make jewelry on the weekends. And the only reason why I didn't end up doing Kester Black, the fashion label in Australia, was because it was too expensive to bring my sewing machine from New Zealand. So it was just a fun little project to create a brand and see if I could sell it. The turning point was, though, when I did translate it from jewelry into nail polish. I actually got a job in the fashion industry as the product development manager at a really big Australian fashion label. And the job was paying $90,000 a year. And I thought, wow, that's, I think I was on 35 or something back then. As a design assistant, I'd managed to get a job in the industry. And I thought, actually, I reckon I've put in too much effort to Little Kester Black, and I would really like to see how far it goes. So I turned down the job, quit my job in fashion, and then went and took a job working for an optometrist association so I could do Kester Black part-time. And it was at that point that we launched the nail polish colours. And then within the first 3 months of launching nail polish colours, the business tripled revenue within 3 months.
What was just to paint the picture, are you able to share what the revenue was when you tripled it?
It was $30,000. And then within 3 months, we were turning over $90,000.
That's a lot of nail polish for a new business.
Yeah, it was. It was just this so we think of it as pivoting, but really it was me getting bored and wanting to do something new. And it was a hobby. So it wasn't a risk, or it was back then, because I think the invoice for $2,000 to make the first batch of nail polishes would have bankrupted me almost. So it was risky in that sense, but it's not like I didn't have a job. So I could just not do the project, and I could just keep going to work and getting paid and paying my rent, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you've got the safety net. I love it. I have a few different questions on this. First of all is you've decided to switch from jewelry to nail polish. Why? What was the little tiny glimmer that you were like, oh, it's going to be nail polish. That's what I'm going to switch to. That's the first question. And the second question is why do you think it resonated so much with the audience that you were targeting? How did you triple your revenue? In a tactical, way?
So the first part of the first question was, I was making sterling silver jewelry, and I got bored of working with just one color. I felt like I think I'd been doing it for 3 or 4 years at that point, and I felt like the creative outlet was becoming really stagnant. And I've always been really interested in color, which is funny because I always only wear black and white. But I love colorful stuff, and I love shiny things, and opals and diamonds. But so I wanted to see if I could...
Speaking my language. Same.
I wanted to see if I could colour the sterling silver. And I thought, I'm pretty sure you could do it with enamel paint. And I thought, what's an easy way to get enamel paint? And I thought, I'm pretty sure nail polish is enamel paint. So I went and bought a nail polish, and I was like, oh, this is fun. I was actually shopping for a dress and a handbag, and I couldn't afford it. And then I bought this $14 nail polish, and I was like, wow, I feel amazing. It gave me this complete satisfaction of having bought something new, like it was a new outfit, but only for $14. And I thought, that's really cool. So I thought I would make coloured jewellery and then matching nail polish. And the technical reason behind that was because so the coloured jewellery didn't work, but then I thought I'd just launch the nail polish anyway, because I wanted to create an add-on sale. If you've ever worked in retail, it's just like a small item that you add onto the sale to increase the value of the order.
The upsell.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's going to be cool. I could increase it by, $15, I think it was back then, or $16 with every ring that I sold. And so that was kind of like the tactical decision to do it. And because I'm developing something with colour in it was really fun and new and felt satisfying. And then when I did launch it into the market, to answer your second question, the reason why it went so well, I think, was because the bottle was designed really nicely. And if you can remember back 10 years ago, the main nail polish brand on the market was OPI. And for anybody who likes a neat bathroom counter, those silly round bottles just drive me up the wall because you can never get the label facing the front. So I made it in a square bottle. I put the brand name on the front, and I put all of the other rubbish information that nobody really cares about on the back, like the mills. And I think we're probably one of the first brands in the world to do it. I didn't even know if it was, because I didn't know about global compliance regulations back then. I don't know if it was illegal to do that, but now knowing the regulations, they don't have to be on the front of the bottle. They just have to be on the bottle somewhere. And so I was wondering why. I took this product that was mass market, I made interesting colours, and then I made it a design forward. I thought about the design first. So I developed this mass market product with design as the core principle.
That's so cool and so interesting.
It's sort of it was all just happened because I didn't have anything to lose, and it was interesting, and it was a process. So the early days of Kester Black was rough and ready, I would say. We've probably done about 3 brand design, we've had 3 logos or 4 logos over the time, but it just grew naturally, and I never had any money to put into it. I started with $50, and then I grew the business step by step from the $50. So there hadn't been any investment up until last year.
Wow, that's so crazy. And I think I read you're like an 8-figure business now. So that's like so impressive.
Yeah.
When you think about the last decade, obviously there's a lot that happens in a decade and it's hard to remember it all. But if you were to kind of like piece down on the milestones that got you to where you are today, what are those key milestones within the business after pivoting to nail polish?
Cool. So pivoting to nail polish was in 2012. And then within the next 2 years, I had grown the range from 6 nail polish colors to 60. So it was the expansion of the color range. And then, probably within the first 3 years, 2015, we had 500 wholesale stockists in Australia. And so I would not recommend that in today's landscape. Wholesale is a really different business. It's a different ballgame. But e-commerce was still fresh back then. And I don't even know if Shopify was around. But anyway, we made our first website on WordPress, and it was rubbish. Just the functionality of the person that I was working with wasn't that good, and the functionality of WordPress wasn't as good. And so, it's sort of all developed by now. And then it would have been probably getting into Liberty's in London. So our first massive international department store, which was really exciting. And then the sort of like the most memorable thing recently was in 2021, March, coronavirus. All of our wholesale stores in Australia got shut down because of the lockdowns, but we had just redone our website, and it was at that point that we started Facebook advertising as well, and it blew up essentially because our website was ready to go. There was a demand from the customer because people were at home and really looking to buy online, and our Facebook ads account really started to gain some traction. We'd probably started Facebook advertising a year before and really started to scale at that point. But there's so many ins and outs with Facebook advertising, and what we've learned from that is like that we need to do it in-house, and the agencies can't help. We'd tried to do it for a number of years before 2020, but it didn't really work because we kept trying to outsource it because we were a small team, and we kept trying to spend $1,000 a month. And now we spend, back in 2020, we were putting $20,000 a month into it. And until you can afford to do that, it's almost, in my opinion, not worth it.
Yeah, and I think as well, like the thing about Facebook ads, especially in today's landscape since the iOS changes, is like you need to have so much foundational, things in place before you should even start to consider ads. You need to have, like what you were saying, your website needs to be optimized and ready for those ads. You need to be able to produce content, especially now more than ever. You need to be able to produce content at scale that's engaging, that's incredible, that's going to hook this person in when they're scrolling through a saturated social news feed. There's just so much that you should be doing before you even, go into that space. And that's, I think, what I see a lot of small businesses trying to jump the gun. They want to go straight from, I've launched a brand, now I need to launch ads. And it's like, there's actually so many steps in between those two phases.
Yeah, absolutely. And the key thing to remember with Facebook ads is that's how to get new customers to your brand. But if you haven't already set up your emails and your nurture flow, and your website's not optimized, there's no point in spending that. It's just money down the drain. So we did a little test, which was really exciting. We use Shopify now, and we have an Australian website, And that was the original one that we jumped onto about 3 or 4 years ago when we made the switch. That was probably a key milestone too, because Shopify's got fantastic reporting. Yes, it's more restricted. It's
so easy to use.
Yeah, it's the best. I would absolutely recommend it. And then we set up a New Zealand website a year and a half to 2 years ago. And we got that kind of all right in that market. And then we launched into the market. And our conversion rate on our New Zealand website is about 9%. And on the Australian website, it's about 5%. So it's really interesting to see if you get all those steps right and then launch into a market and you do it successfully, you get this awesome optimization. But of course, the Australian markets where we've made all of our mistakes, lots of people saw us in Whole Food stores, or at the moment we're having problems in Australia with our warehouse packaging the items really nicely. So in New Zealand, we seem to have got it right, and we've got that running. In the first year, I think we'd started at $6,000 a month in New Zealand. And then within 8 or 9 months, we were doing $90,000 a month in New Zealand a month. So it was really easy to scale that market quickly because we'd made all these mistakes in Australia. We knew what to do. So we're hoping that when we scale Europe, it goes smoothly while we're over here. Yeah.
Third time around, you're gonna breeze through it. And what I just want to, circle back for 1 second to anyone listening who is a small business owner. The reason why, it's not sustainable to acquire every customer for the first time if you don't have all of your funnels and everything set up is because, well, I've said it the wrong way around. It's not sustainable. If you have to acquire everyone and then you lose them as a customer, what you want to be doing is making sure that that customer has a, long lifetime with you, and you're able to capitalize on acquiring them that first time. So you only pay for them once, and then you're able to kind of, build on that relationship and offer them new products through your email series and things like that. So for anyone listening who's wanting to just have the magic pill and jumping into ads, there's more to consider.
It's that's so funny because that's exactly how it was for us. I don't know, Kester Black officially started in 2014 when we registered it as a company and not just me playing around on the side. But it's taken a long time. And for the first probably 5 years, it was all word of mouth and free PR. So built the brand with no marketing spend whatsoever. And we had a 90% return customer rate, which was amazing. And so it wasn't until we'd sort of got all of that, then it was worth even bothering to start spending money on marketing. Unless you have a couple of $1 million to start with and you can afford to do it. But even then, you can burn that money quickly.
And I think as well, the reality is that today we're in such a unique position right now with the way that Instagram Reels and TikTok are, really taking small businesses to the next level. Everyone should be focusing their efforts on their content marketing strategy and their organic content marketing strategy, because every video has the opportunity to go viral. You can reach people for free, essentially, just with time. I think it's such a cool moment in the landscape of social.
And that is something that Kester Black has not done well. We've done a traditional we were initially a wholesale, we're 80% wholesale, which means that, say, you have a product and it costs $5, then you double it to $10 and that's your wholesale price. And then you double that again to $20 and that's your retail price. So if you've got a $5 product, you're only making $5 on a wholesale item. But if you're selling it direct to consumer, you're making $15 for the same product. So it was in 2020, in March 2020, that we pretty much pivoted from, and organically because of the situation, 80% wholesale to 10% wholesale, 90% online. And with 90% online, we had a bigger gross margin, and we had way more money to spend on things. But then we spent that on Facebook ads. So we haven't actually done a really fantastic content marketing strategy mainly because I found it really difficult to find people who are great at that. It's really interesting because, everybody's a native and everybody seems to be a social media marketing person, but content creation is so hard. Or it's hard to find great content creators who really understand the brand and create on-point content for our customers. So yeah, it's because it's such a big mix of skills in there. It's like graphic skills, copy skills, video making skills, editing, styling. So it's so broad.
You need someone who's actually been a long-term customer, who's kind of been with you on the journey for the last 5 to 10 years, who is really passionate about what you're doing and gets it. That would be so cool.
Yeah, so we're looking. If anybody's out there, please get in touch.
Yeah, that would be so fun too. I wanted to ask you about shipping nail polish.
Oh, don't ask me.
In my in my research, it was brought to my attention that shipping nail polish is shipping a dangerous good. And so I'm interested. I haven't spoken to anyone about that on the show before. So what's the lay of the land with nail polish?
My advice to anybody listening is don't touch it. So that was one of these big faux pas that I did from the start, which is probably my number one piece of advice, is if you're going to create a product, check how you ship it. And one of the brands that I've seen do this really well was Frank Body from Australia. And they actually had their initial products, their coffee scrubs, in little bottles, but then they would have to send that as a parcel, which would have cost $6 or $7 Australian dollars. So they redesigned the packaging so that it was a flat bag, and then they could put it through the post, and it cost them $1 per unit. So that is a really important consideration if you're at the start of making a brand. I made nail polish and sent it through the post for 2 years before I even understood that it was illegal to do so. And it wasn't until I had a big shipment going to a store, and it must have got dropped by the postie, and it got sent back, and it was just this mess of shattered nail polish bottles, essentially. And there was a note on it saying, you cannot be shipping this through the post. And I was like, oh, I wonder why. So I went online and looked it up, and I found that you had to have a license to ship dangerous goods. Dangerous goods essentially means anything that is covered in the classes, and the classes is like flammable goods, nuclear items, explosives, batteries, these times that, like biological virus samples that could wipe out the human population, they are considered dangerous goods. So I had to do this test or do this course to get my license. And I thought, I'll do it online.
How much does it cost?
Oh, maybe not very much, between say $300 and $500 or something. Not heaps. But I did it online, and I had to learn how to ship all of those items to get it. And it took me 7 months. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. It was so hard. So anyway, I got the license, and going forward, though, that means that there's a dangerous goods charge on every order sent. So, for example, when we were in Australia, we were trying to ship nail polish to New Zealand, and it would cost, say, $30 shipping with DHL, because it can only go by DHL or FedEx, essentially, or an approved dangerous goods air carrier. So you cannot post dangerous goods using a postal system. It won't even get out of the border of the country. So it costs $30 then, plus a DG surcharge of, say, $10. So then it takes your $30 shipping item to $40, and our nail polish at that time is $20. So it would cost twice as much to ship just the cost of one product.
So you obviously wouldn't ship it.
Well, we did for like 2 years, because we thought it would be better to retain those early customers from New Zealand than shut them off for 2 years until we could find another solution. It just means that it's really difficult to expand into new markets with it, because to send a pallet of dangerous goods, that's a different shipping class to how we would normally send it if I was sending one to you. And then it's troublesome, because then any warehouse that we get, like a third-party logistics pack and send dispatch warehouse, they need to have trained and approved staff. You need to be able to store a certain amount. So there's all these legalities around products like this, and they're very complex. And I can see why every other beauty brand, I thought Kester Black was all being smart and cool by creating products that no other beauty brands were really focusing on. So there was a gap in the market. But I found out why there is a gap in the market, and it's because it's incredibly difficult.
Yeah, you've taken on that complex challenge of filling the gap in the market.
Yeah. And you can't manufacture it yourself. You can't fill it yourself. So, if your factory's full, you can't then process any of that stock yourself, because you would be usually able to buy in bulk and then pour. We've poured skincare into bottles before, and that was easy. But my gosh, nail polish, no way.
Is that why you decided to introduce the other cosmetics to kind of have things that were easier to ship?
Yeah, it was part of it. But I guess my vision of Kester Black has always been centered around me. Whatever products I would like, that's what I want to make. And so my focus, I guess in the early days, nail polish, Kester Black started as like this cosmetics brand because I was really interested in sustainability and I wanted a new project to keep me interested. And I looked at nail polish and I thought, what a crappy product. Product is rubbish. It would be better off for everybody if we didn't have it. In fact, if nail polish didn't exist, that would be the best. So actually, I wanted to create nail polish because I was like, I wonder if you can do this in a positive way, because people are not going to stop buying it, but there's no really great options on the market for people who really who care about the environment.
Why? What's bad about it as a total noob?
Yeah, it's it's a plastic film, so it's plastic. Because it's dangerous goods, it means until it's dry, it's toxic. So when you paint nail polish on, the fumes are bad, but then once it's dry, it's completely non-toxic, but it's plastic. It's like the packaging is made up of a plastic lid and a plastic brush, and there's probably about 4 or 5 different types of plastic in that packaging, and then glass. And the problem with nail polish is that often you cannot clean the glass, so none of the glass is recycled. So there are lots of issues with nail polish. And then, of course, there are broader issues like a lot of the mica used in the cosmetics industry, which is the gorgeous powder that gives things a tiny shine or an iridescent sort of look. It's a rock, but often that is mined by children. And so it's using slave labor. It's dangerous in the mines. Then it's like processed with other chemicals which are toxic. So there's lots of things in the industry which are really, really bad. And I was like, wow, nobody's tried to make this any better. I wonder if we can. So there are some things in the industry that we can't change, like, for example, the fact that you can't clean the glass bottles that easily, because to clean them, you need industrial chemicals to do it. So then, therefore, if we did manage to get the glass back and recycle it, you can do it easily at home. So you could clean your glass and recycle that glass. But as a brand, we can't do it on an industry scale at the moment. So, and to offset some of those things, we donate money back to charities, and we are carbon neutral, and we are a B-corp. So we focus on this broader aspect of sustainable business and ethical business. Because initially my understanding of ethical and sustainable business was, small. And so I just thought that doing better would be making in small batches so there was no runoffs, no excess, and making it vegan, because most nail polish has actually got animal ingredients in it. So it was just a few of those small things. And then as I've grown and sustainability has become more of an interest, there's just so many problems that I want to try and address. And one of the biggest ones is the packaging in the cosmetics industry. There's just so much. And the main problem with it is that it's mixed material, so you can't recycle it unless you know how to recycle it. Yeah, so it's complex.
What is your advice for small brands who want to go down the path of certifications? I know you have somewhere in the range of 6 different certifications, like cruelty-free and vegan and B-corp. What's your advice for small businesses who want to go down that path? I imagine there's, costs involved. I imagine there's a lot of time spent towards applications or things like that. What's your advice?
My advice is it's very hard to retrofit product and brand if you don't come up with these concepts initially. You don't have to pay the licensing fee and get the accreditation, but you need to understand the values of the certification when you're small. So, for example, we want to get Clean certification for our products. And that's complex because the word clean is not standard across the industry. So at the moment, it's considered a greenwashing term, but I don't think it will be in the future because there will be standards built out against this. Like vegan was a confusing term in cosmetics initially until there was a group of people who decided on what the definition of vegan in cosmetics means. So, for example, with Cert Clean, they actually have a list listed on their website of ingredients that are not clean. So for us, it's really easy because we can go onto their website, download their list, and use their lists initially when we're doing all of our formulating. So that is a really important step for us to do in regards to ingredients. But if it's something like B-corp, B-corp is such an awesome one because their questionnaire is free and you can go on it and do it as many times as you like, and only until you would like to pay and go through the certification process, which you've done all of the hard work in the questionnaire before you even do that. Like, that's an incredible tool. You just do it once, it'll take you 2 or 3 hours, and it'll give you so many different things to think about that then you've got your, roadmap of the next 3 years sort of working towards getting those things set up. So I would just do it early, use the free resources on their websites, and just think about it as a brand. We're sort of going through this at the moment, expanding our product range, and it's really hard to retrofit packaging. So an example of, we've finalized sustainability strategy, and one of the things that we want to do is circular packaging. But it was almost 6 years ago I started making a lipstick. It took 3 years of development, and then we launched it 3 years ago. And only last year did we standardize what Kester Black meant in regards to sustainability. So I've written a design philosophy for all of our products moving forward, and the eyeliner products fell into that. So they're plastic free, the cap is recyclable, and otherwise they're biodegradable. So they're an awesome product for sustainability, but the lipsticks aren't, because they have a wand, because they're a liquid lipstick. They have a wand which has a couple of different plastic materials in it. The first batch that we made wasn't in post-consumer recycled plastic, so we have updated the bottles and they are now post-consumer recycled plastic bottles. But for it to truly fit in our sustainability strategy moving forward, we would have to discontinue the product. We probably wouldn't have chosen that format for that product had I have understood what the design philosophy of all of Kester Black products was. And it's the same thing with the nail polish. So if we truly want to become clean and sustainable and circular, we would have to discontinue our lipsticks and our nail polishes. So just having a think about it in the first place is just important, I think. It's easy to be sustainable if you design it in. So really, really, sustainability starts with the design.
Mm-hmm. And following on from that, what is your general top piece of advice for entrepreneurs in 2022?
I think one of the things that always pops up is start your business the way that you intend to run it. Because yes, you won't be able to do that from the get-go, but to think about your little business and the different stages of growth and how that's going to look, because it got to about 2016 and I experienced, I got diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, and it was because I didn't have a clear vision of what I wanted Kester Black to look like. And so I was trying to do everything myself, and I wasn't accepting help from people, and we couldn't afford to pay people. And so it actually became really, really difficult, where the one thing I have learned over the years is that hiring people who are way more experienced than yourself saves you money in the long run. We were always trying to hire juniors and train them, but they didn't come with enough experience to be able to grow the business. So they sort of cost the business, but there wasn't a growth aspect to it. So yeah, start your business the way that you intend to run it, I think is important.
That's great advice. I love that. Thanks. At the end of every episode, we ask a quick fire round of 6 quick questions, some of which we might have covered some of which maybe not, but I ask them all the same. So question number 1 is, what's your why? Why are you doing what you're doing?
I think my answer to that is, why not? You know, I don't know if I believe in this like purpose and why. I think that you can express yourself, and Kester Black is definitely an expression of me and my interests. And the main barrier for people starting their own businesses is that they think too much about it. Just get going. Why not do it? Otherwise, I'd just have another full-time job and I wouldn't be making any kind of impact on the world.
100%. Amen. Number 2 is, what's been the number 1 marketing moment so far?
I think it was actually, it's like a broader, but when we started Facebook advertising in-house, that's just when stuff really started to change, and it really was fast growth.
Love that. Love that for you. Question number 3 is, what's your go-to business resource? Could be book, podcast, or newsletter.
Oh, I have so many. Okay. Gorgias. It's Gorgias. It's like a customer service management platform. It's the best. These guys are the best. It's cheap. It's awesome. The same with...
As in they do your customer service? Is that what you mean?
No, you do it, but it's a platform that manages all different emails, all of your Instagram, all of your Facebook messages, and it pulls it all into one. And then you've got templates pre-written, because the pre-written response, because often we get the same questions, so why not automate that a little bit more? It also loops into Shopify and pulls out all of the order history. So just within the one screen, you can see how many orders they've made, what orders they've made, and then it says, you know, there's all this like pre-filled stuff that you can customize, and it's one of the best. The other one is Akendo. Of course, I'm sure most of your listeners will know that reviews are one of the most important proof points for customers, especially these days. What do other real people think about your product? So Akendo is this incredible reviews plugin for Shopify that's a lot like Yotpo. There's another one called Yotpo, but I was looking at Yotpo and it was 4,000 USD a year. And I think Akendo is like 400 AUD a year, or just some way cheaper. And the guys there are so nice and so helpful, and they do all the customization and implementation on your website. And it's been one of the best things I've ever done in my business.
Ooh, love both of those. Thank you so much. Can't wait to check them out and spread the good word to everyone who will listen. Question number 4 is, how do you win the day? What are your AM or PM rituals and habits that keep you feeling happy and successful?
I meditate every day between 1 and 2 hours. And it sounds like a lot of time, but since I started meditating, my business has grown. My relationships in regards to business and with staff and other suppliers has become a lot stronger. And I don't get so stressed out. And it's probably been one of the main things that I've needed to do to manage this chronic fatigue issue. Not that it's as bad as it was in 2016, but I reckon I'm about 80% recovered through meditation.
Wow. Where'd you go to learn? What are the kind of...
I have an app.
Resources that you started looking at?
I started it with TM meditation, which I wouldn't recommend because it's just it's using thought, which I think is not the point of meditation. Meditation is to not worry about thought. It's not to think, but it's not to use thought to get into a heightened state. So I actually use an app called Undo app. I also go on the Undo retreats, which run once or twice a year. And so the first time I truly learned how to meditate was I went on a 2.5-week meditation retreat in Perth. And it was one of the most wild experiences of my life. So it was silent. You weren't allowed to talk to anybody. But there's no religious or spiritual concepts in this meditation. It's literally, the point of meditation is to just sit there and be still and don't stress yourself out, and then your body just heals itself. And that's it. That's what meditation, I think, is supposed to be.
I have it really high up on my list of things to do, a silent meditation retreat. I think I would really enjoy it.
Oh, yeah, I'll give you the details.
Have to get the recommendation from you.
I'm going to one in 3 weeks, so I will send you data. It's actually being run in Estonia, and you can find the details on the website Quiet Retreats. So that is the retreat side of the business to the app, Undo app.
Got it. I'm going to check it out. Thanks. Question number 5 is, for you right now, where is the most important spend of $1 within the business?
Oh, that's such a trick question. So it's, if we've got stock, it's on marketing, but if we don't have stock, it's on stock. Because last year we had supply chain issues and we were sold out of the top 6 best-selling products, and I reckon it affected our revenue by 40%. So we were marketing, but then people were coming to our website and trying to buy, and we didn't have the stock to buy. So it's always a catch-22, marketing or stock.
That's a tough one. Holy moly. And question number 6, what has been a major fail that you can share, and how did you deal with it?
Yeah, I have a real doozy.
Oh my God, I love a doozy. Please give us the doozy.
It's not a quick fire question though. How much time do we have? I'll give you the short version.
Oh my God, no, give us the long version.
Started a second business in skincare about 3 years ago with a woman that I met at a conference. She was very successful and had a business previously, but had sold it and wanted to come and do something in the skincare realm. So we started working on this beautiful brand together. We were 50-50 shareholders. And what I didn't do at the time was get everything in writing. And so we had all these agreements, or I did have quite a lot in writing actually. How much I was going to get paid, that I was an employee and also a shareholder. So we were business partners, and I was working for the business for a wage. There was an understanding that I wouldn't get paid until the business was turning a profit, which was fine because you've got to work hard at the start of a business to make any money. So I did all the branding, all the website, all the formulations, essentially all of the work for 3 years. And then I didn't understand the difference between having a company in New Zealand and having a company in Australia. And I thought that the responsibilities of directors were essentially the same, but they're not. They're slightly different. So I really only understood the Australian law. And then what happened was that partner, my boss, business partner, diluted my shares from 50% down to 0.02% and said that she didn't owe me any money. And essentially I have no stake in the business anymore. And I have no oversight of the business, and I haven't been paid. And this is all these things. It's just this ongoing drama. So we've been going through that. It's around $330,000 of unpaid just wages, right? That's not even accounting for any kind of brand value or anything like that. And so we've been through this consistent legal battle where we've just filed with the Employment Relations Agency in New Zealand. And one of the most amazing things that I've learned through this process, it's been really interesting to go through a full court process, because often it's a really terrifying thing for people who don't, you're only really afraid of the unknown. And what I've learned is, even if you win and you get positive rulings and you're in the right and the money is owed to you, there's absolutely nothing you can do to ensure that the company or the person pays the money to you, and there are no repercussions for that. So the legal system, after we've paid, and we've paid legal, I've personally paid legal fees up to, I'm sitting at around $40,000. I've paid a lawyer or different lawyers to try and recover this money. I've just kissed all that money goodbye, and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. Isn't that wild?
How do you deal with that, mentally? And how do you come to peace with her doing that to you? And do you have any contact with her? That's just so mind-blowing.
We were so close, and I think the reason why I didn't get anything in writing was because I truly trusted her, and she was a very close friend and an incredible mentor, and we spoke to each other for about 3 hours a day. So we were inseparable almost. But what I learned through the process is that she set it up from the start. It wasn't just like, there wasn't anything that fell apart. We didn't have a fight. There wasn't really, I think it just got to this point where she didn't need me anymore because I'd done all the work. And then she just sort of started playing a game. And it has been very upsetting. It's taken a lot of energy out of me. That's 3 years of 20 hours a week that I could have been focusing fully on Kester Black, that I wasn't. So there's not just the loss of wages that I haven't been paid. There's a massive opportunity cost as well for my actual business.
Yeah. Yeah. The opportunity cost is crazy. Oh, I hate that for you on so many levels.
I meditate a lot, and I've had to do a lot of work because the feeling is, why does this person hate me so much? I haven't done anything wrong. And I just want what's fair. Not even what's what. It's not even what's fair, because fear would be, share of the business or something like that. But just what's minimum, I guess, is what I'm asking for. So it has been really difficult. And I'd always thought this. I've heard so many other entrepreneurs have stories like this where they get an investor, or this is the whole reason why we didn't do an investment round for such a long time, because I was terrified of investors, because I didn't want anybody having control of my business or shares in the business, or I was worried about going to court if I spent $2 on a coffee that wasn't a business expense, and then I would be embezzling from the company. There's all these risks around becoming, A, being a company director, and B, having shareholders to report to. But look, I've learned a lot. I don't think I've fully resolved it yet. I'm still hurt. But it's been a fantastic growth opportunity for me, because initially I would have been really aggressive and reactionary, and now I get an email from my lawyer saying, P.S. and if we even win, we might not be able to recover the costs anyway. And then I just get upset for about half an hour, and I think, oh my God, what have I wasted all this time for? And I think the thing is I just would never ever have, I don't know, a 50-50 business with anybody else. And when we did the capital raise, I only sold 10% of the shares of the company. So I still maintain major control. And of course, we went through virtual, so it's not like having a single solo investor. There are restrictions, I guess, that apply in public capital raise offers, like through virtual, for example. So it's been really hard. And I probably would have had, heaps more energy to have.
Big doozy. That's a real tough one. My God. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. That's obviously something that everyone can learn from, is to really, I don't even know how you would avoid that. That's just truly a tough one.
A really good bit of advice around that, a smaller version of this, right? And a smaller example of this is, if you're a brand and you get a graphic designer to build your brand, you need legal paperwork called a deed of IP, or an deed of release, to say that you, as the brand owner who's paid money for that, owns it. Because actually, in regards to IP and legals, we probably tried to spend not very much money on legals initially, and it's probably the best spend of money ever. So I had heard of a friend of mine, she started a brand, her graphic designer did the entire brand, she spent heaps of money on it, and then she doesn't actually even own that. The graphic designer still owned it. So she'd spent all this money building a brand that she didn't own. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really crazy. It's something that you've got to check up front when you start working with the designers. It's crazy. Great advice.
And to get working files, because often designers only give you PDFs, and that's almost irrelevant to a brand. I think we always get our graphic designers to send us, the InDesign files or the Photoshop files all set up and established, so that if we need to change one bit of copy, we can. It's not a problem.
Yeah. I'm exactly the same, because especially if you have the skill set where you can just whip something up, you don't need to go back to your designer and be like, oh, can you just shuffle this a little bit to the left, or just change this word. It's so key to have the working documents 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Anna, this was absolute gold. You have just shared so many cool things in this episode. Thank you so much for coming on the show and for making the time. And yeah, thank you so much.
It's been like the highlight of my week. So thank you so much for having me. And I hope that we can hang out soon at a meditation retreat.